yo, it's your boy Agent Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have Spigs18 or Anthony. And just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It's a great help for our channels and we really appreciate all the support we've gotten so far. But without any further ado, Anthony, what are we doing here tonight?
Well, we have honorary third CU member, Sean's here. Sean K. Reynolds. Normally we do bios, but like with Sean, if you don't know who Sean is by now, you've been watching the wrong show for the last, Sean designed from Monte Cook Games. Sean, welcome back to the CU again.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
And I don't know if you saw last week's episode with Shauna, but chat and me and Al kind of snitched you out saying that you like to give us, some exclusive information.
I'm ready. I got a list.
So we're glad we have you here. So before we get to the questions, we got some questions from the audience. Liv was kind enough to give us the excess questions that didn't get answered at yesterday's AMA. So we have those questions to ask. And we got some questions that we pulled off the Discord, plus some questions that me and Al put in the list. But the first question is, since I don't know if you know, we were calling, when we originally planned to have you, Bruce, and Shauna on, we were calling you guys the Avengers. We asked Shauna as the first question, what Avenger would she be? So what Avenger will you be?
I'm going to say Hawkeye because Hawkeye gets the job done, but everybody always kind of is like, why is Hawkeye here? But, he actually kicks ass.
That's actually a great one. So you say that when you show up to the design meetings, they like, what the hell is this guy doing here?
Yeah. Like somebody outside of MCG once described me as an excellent midfielder, like to use a baseball analogy, and like an excellent midfielder is very vital for a team, but they don't name stadiums after the midfielders. They don't get like the celebrity status. So here I am. I'm just a little baby, but I get all the work done.
Mm-hmm. As someone who played Little League, compliment and an insult at the same time is when they tell you, hey, you got steady hands. Oh, yeah, he's a good player. He has steady hands, but they don't add anything else. What Roosevelt Cooper said, unless you're Derek Jeter. Yeah, very true.
Fair. He's the one.
So I'm going to ask the first question. Like I said, we got a bunch of these questions to go through. And chat, if you have any questions for Sean, either about the Amber Archive or the new Cypher, please post them in the chat, but put the word question in front so we know that it's a question, and we'll transfer it over to our show notes so we can ask Sean. But the first question I got, Sean, is, since the Amber Archive Backerkit has only about a day left before closing, have you guys started the discussion on who will be working on each of the books yet? And do you have a preference of what aspect of design or book of this project you want to work on personally?
So we actually, because we're already working on other stuff from the last crowdfund, we're wrapping up, Bruce and I are going to be wrapping up the last Magnus Archives book, and then Bruce is going to start on The Strange, and Sean has already started on Predation. So once I wrap up Electric Sun at the end of this month, I'm the one designer who's available, so I'll probably be the one who starts working on the new Numenera core book. The other stuff, that'll be months down the road, and so we'll just have to see how the other projects suss out. But I mean, again, we're all going to work a bit on Numenera because we all have a vested interest in it. So it's not like it's just going to be my version of the book. But for what I'm looking forward to working on, I'm looking forward to tackling the new ways that we handle ciphers, cool stuff to do with ciphers, and see if we can expand crafting a bit to make it a little more Numenera-y than the CCR does. I'm looking forward to the new types and some of the wild foci that are specific to Numenera. And things like species like mutant and Orgellan and Lattimore.
Oh, there's actually like two people on our server that always hone in on crafting for some reason. Malfectious, we're looking at you. So maybe some of the changes will be to your liking.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It almost always gets brought up when we talk about the new Numenera. I've at least heard at least 2 or 3 different people say like, we hope the right is still there. We want to still make stuff. Like,
Sure.
oh boy. But yeah, the next question here is what you call it, from us, and it says or it is, like with so many other of MCG's Backerkit projects, the Amber Archive has already hit so many exciting stretch goals. What stretch goal are you most excited to see come to life?
I mean, the fact that we just hit one that expanded the catechism, and we're going to have more adventure content. Like, I know that the fan community of Numenera is always like, we need more adventures, we need more big adventures, we need more small adventures. The fact that we hit that stretch goal, which means we're just going to have even more adventure content for everybody. That's awesome. And like, writing adventures is fun, and exploring new areas in adventures is fun. Which is a weird way of saying that, but like, we don't necessarily do a lot of, here's a brand new area that we're going to describe, and like, here's the shopkeeper and here's the warlord, blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of our world content is presented in the form of adventure, so you can fit it into your campaign however you want. So I think more adventures means more opportunities for us to see the world with interesting ideas that GMs could use.
Yeah, you guys have a ton of exciting stretch goals. I would love the adventure book. I'm actually, the new creature deck that I know we're gonna hit when we hit 3,400 backers is probably really intriguing to me right now. Do you know if that creature deck is going to be original creatures or creatures that you're taking out of the new creatures you're designing specifically for the book?
I am 95% sure that those will be drawn from the creatures that are new to this project.
Oh, nice.
Always like to see new stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Belisarios asks, in the GM's guide, there will be guidelines to create new manifest ciphers, aka spells, for the prepared spells ability, question mark?
I think the GM's guide does have criteria for making new ciphers, designing new ciphers at various power levels. So yes.
Pretty straightforward.
All right, next question.
Hold on a second. Anytime we get someone that has a really long name, I always give those questions to Al because he butchers everybody's name, and this one is pretty long. So I was like, I'm definitely giving this question to Al.
Joke's on you because it's Japanese and I'm pretty sure I could pronounce this.
Oh,
okay.
It's the next user we have a question from is Kyujin Yeto, and it's Kyujin Yeto 6228, and it's the question is, will past races
I bow down to you, sir.
Will past races or visitors be more prevalent, and is there new lore about mega space structures and alien visitor locations?
I think they'll be like the common ones, like Virgellin and Lattimore. Like, we've established that those are in the core book, so those are like widespread enough that any campaign of Numenera has a reasonable chance of having those. We don't want to cram things into anybody's campaign, but if they're, depending on how much space writing up one of these species takes, I could see having 3 or 4 more ones that appeared in like the Numenera character options or something like that. So yeah, it's just a question of how the space for each chapter breaks down. We like to revisit things, and think of it this way: if we don't convert a particular species from some other source book, people are going to keep asking us, "When are you going to convert this one? When are you going to convert this one?" I'm like, okay, well, geez, man, I've only got so many pages. For spaceships and megastructures, I mean, we haven't decided on that yet, but I could see that some of the new source book setting material that we cover might have something like that, or maybe one of the adventures would have something. I mean, my Numenera game that I'm running right now for some of my patrons, they just gone to the moon and they're exploring the Deep Citadel. Or they actually just got to the Deep Citadel, like at the end of an action scene where they jumped over a cliff and there was like explosions behind them and a bunch of monsters chasing them, and they've just landed in the Deep Citadel. So megastructures and weird space stuff, that's a fun aspect of Numenera, and yeah, we should revisit that.
That's awesome. It's a no-win situation, right? If you spend all your resources and page count just converting what is existing, then you're gonna get the complaint, hey, there's nothing original here. This is just conversions and stuff I have already.
Yeah, we got to serve both teams there.
Yeah. Corey Coolidge asks, we were hinted at in the new cipher that they will have new foci that work more like skill trees. How would this look like in Numenera?
So if you haven't seen the early access material for the Cypher character rulebook, like instead of your focus being, here's your tier 1 ability, here's your tier 2, here are your choice of 2 tier 3s, here's 1 tier 4, here's 1 tier 5, and then 2 a tier 6. Now there are 3 tier 1 abilities, and you get to pick 2 of them. And then from there, every tier has generally 2 or 3 abilities. And sometimes you need like a prerequisite, like for blazes with fire, there's a halo of fire. You need the shroud of flame ability to do the thing that says, I'm going to draw flame out of my shroud and do this. But yeah, it's just kind of like most video games that have that sort of skill tree option. And the Numenera foci are going to do the same thing. You're just going to start with multiple choices and go on down the list. And I think the really fun thing about having foci set up this way is that the old paradigm used to be you really shouldn't have more than one character at the table that has the same focus, because they're going to have very similar abilities. But now you can have 2 characters with the same focus, and they're going to go they have the possibility of going very different path choices in that skill tree. And they might have very different abilities by the time over the course of their entire playing career.
I have an interesting...
more
sorry.
options is always better.
I'm going to cut you off.
No, I just said more options is always better.
But what I wanted to piggyback question off this, and this just made me think about it, because I don't think I've heard an answer to this or have read anything about it. But again, I'm not too well read on the new Cypher skill tree thing. But in old Cypher rules, you were able to, when you advance, you can pick tier 1 stuff instead of your tier 2, tier 3 stuff. So in the new system, will you be able to still do that and basically unlock the full tree, so to speak, if that makes sense?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And actually, one of the players in my, what I call my barista Talis group, because it's the people at my local coffee shop, he's a druid who masters telekinesis. And he's like, these 3 abilities are all really cool. And he ended up picking these 2. And his first advancement, he's like, I'm going to get that other one. So now he's got all 3 from the first tier.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's
awesome.
exactly what I was wondering. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. All right, cool. And the next question here we got from our community is from Jack Barcia. Hopefully I said that right. And the question is, will we have a deeper look into the internal workings of the Order of Truth, like politics, rights/procedures, literally their, I'm going to butcher this word, catechesis?
Catechisms?
Yeah, etc. Yeah.
So we've already covered some of that in the Priest of the Eons book, which is available now. It's part of one of the here's 20 Numenera PDF pledge levels. We could go really down in the weeds in that, but I'm hesitant to spend pages doing something that, like, this page is literally just a 1 page of Numenera prayers that they say as part of ritual. So like, that's cool lore, but is that page better served having like new ciphers or a new focus option or a new NPC, that sort of thing? So again, it's a balancing game of, can we like do a call out or a pull quote on a page that is like a section of that might inspire the GM to go, oh, I can see where you're going with this, I'm going to write my own version of that and extend it, while still having lots of room to cover all the other sorts of stuff that are really cool about the Order of Truth.
Oh, that makes sense.
And the beauty, we spoke about this a little bit with Shauna, the beauty about the way all the Numenera books were designed, where it's, it has a good chunk of lore, that's still transferable to the new edition. The lore, there's a lot of the lore sections are void of mechanics anyway. So, the lore is the lore. It's going to move over to whatever edition you're playing.
Yeah.
And
an example of that, sorry, go ahead.
Now I was going to say, and with backing this Backerkit in particular, you're getting all the PDF books for free at a certain level. So you will have all that lore.
Yeah. one of the examples I was going to give is in Priest of the Eons, there is a 2-page introduction that is literally like a sermon by Calival talking about the spider and the imager. It's like a parable talking about how we as humans will never really understand the Numenera, but that's okay. And that's literally like his words. And because it's just in character stuff, in world stuff, whether you're playing the old Cypher or the new Cypher, old Numenera, you can still use that exactly as is. There's no conversion because there's no game stats.
Yeah, that's awesome. Emmanuel asks,
Hey, Emmanuel.
Numenera has been around for over 10 years. What has changed the most in your design process since the original game? And what was your favorite moment while creating the Amber Archive? Oh, I guess you're still creating the Amber Archive. So, but they essentially asked, what is your favorite moment while creating the Amber Archive?
I mean, just the fact that we get to revisit this world that is so fundamentally important to MCG and to the individual designers. Like, we all have such a strong connection to it. Like, Monte and Shauna created the original Numenera. I was the original developer on Numenera. I wasn't even an employee back then. Monte came to me and said, "You're really good with game rules. Will you take a look at this and give us some feedback?" And I gave him a lot of feedback on things. And then Bruce started working on Numenera after he finished The Strange, and so he was full-time MCG guy. So really, this is kind of like coming home to the thing that started it all. And we love the setting. We love just coming up with weird stuff. I don't know if anything in particular has changed of our philosophy, but I do think that maybe as real-world technology and situations grow and evolve, we can bring that perspective to what we're writing about in the world. Like, somebody in a previous chat with you guys asked about AI and its role in the world of the Numenera, and we're like, well, you know what? AI is already there. There are crazy artificial intelligences. There are ones that are hallucinating and coming up with false data, and there are some that are true and accurate. So we already have that. It's a living, breathing world, and we just keep adding to that.
I can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Me too.
Yeah, no, Numenera is always a very exciting thing because, again, due to the nature of it, you can do so much with it. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see what y'all do. But next question here is from Temporary 67315, and they ask...
Wait, 67315? I went to college with Temporary 61314. Anyway, go on.
Call me off guard. Any new changes to the setting of the Ninth World, like a time skip or advances in technology?
So our principle is that we write the material, but then we hand it off to the GM and we make it their world. And it is not our place to do anything that would invalidate somebody's campaign. So we kind of leave the timeline in limbo. We're going to keep adding new stuff, and that might be expansions on geographical information, and it might be additional ciphers and artifacts that come into play and additional creatures that show up. But we don't ever want to say, all right, 5 years have passed, so if your characters aren't caught up to that, then you need to you need to fast forward, or maybe your characters died. It's just, we've seen alterations to a campaign setting, a shared published campaign setting like that, wreak a lot of havoc in people's personal games, and so we don't want to do that. But as far as improvements to technology, we kind of did that with Numenera Discovery, in that we realized that the original Numenera was 90% discovery and 10% building things, destiny. And so when we did Numenera Discovery and Destiny, we said we need to make a whole other book to cover all that building and making the world a better place sort of stuff. And so the idea of having defending communities and the character types that are about communities and character types that are all about building stuff, that was kind of our let's improve, not necessarily the overall technological level, but put the tools in the hands of the GM and players so that they can introduce those changes to their own campaigns.
So you mean you're not going to have a 4th edition Sundering of the Forgotten Realms?
No, I'm not going to do that.
Oh man, you're not going to wipe everything out?
I mean, if we did something like that, Yeah, if we did something like that, it would be like a bad consequence of an adventure, like with Edge of the Sun. Like if you screw up Edge of the Sun, yeah, the sun's going to blow up, but that doesn't mean that everyone's world of Numenera blows up. It just means your campaign is kind of screwed.
Ruparo asks, what's in store for the SRD and Seesaw with Cypher 2? Any timeline for Cypher SR for the new Cypher SRD or any plans going forward? Probably a Charles question, but you can take a shot at it.
That is a Charles question, but I will say that like we have been pretty generous and in a reasonable timeline on getting new material added to the CSOL and the CSRD. So I don't know what the specifics are, but I would not be surprised if the plan is just to update that. And I don't know whether it's like we'll have two parallel versions or we'll just put all that stuff in there and maybe there'll be like a toggle on the character creator that says like which version of the game you're using. I don't know, but like I have information that says, nope, we hate this now. So I suspect we'll continue to move forward with that like we have been.
Makes sense. Hopefully we can get Charles on here to give us some more, because there's a bunch of these questions that are like Charles specific. So we definitely need to have him back on.
He's a big slacker for not being on here. I can't believe I pulled ahead in the race.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that offline. I don't know if you was there, Al, when we were talking, but you know Sean is 3 appearances ahead of Charles now.
Yes, I was there.
he
I'm
is
pretty cool.
pulling ahead.
You hear that,
He
Charles?
is pulling ahead in the pack.
We got to have a Charles
you
week
out, Charles.
where he comes on every single day of the week to talk about something different. Then he'll catch up real easy. But either way, the next question here is from community member Basil Strikes. And they ask, are there any hints or reveals you can make over some of the non-standard chapters that will be in the Game Master's Guide? To be specific, anything from the specific genres from the previous white books that might be returning as standard GM tools or being revamped completely into the newer system.
I will say that for the overwhelming most part, we have not invalidated any of the older white books because those are deep dives. Like, for example, the GM guide does not have an extensive space vehicle combat system because that's in the Stars of Fire. So yeah, we have not, like, there's only so many pages, and the idea of these 4 white books, 6 white books are, 192 pages. If we took 10 pages from each of those things, that's a huge chunk of the GM guide that would just be all that. I think the GM guide is really more of a, here's your core of, I want to run Cypher, I want to have all the insights on how to run Cypher, and then some guidelines on how to make that an easier process for you. I don't know if you've seen the early access document, and by you, I mean whoever is listening to this. But one of the things we did for the CCR is that we got rid of a lot of weird corner cases of, oh, if you do this one thing, then that's specifically eased by 1 step or hindered by 2 steps. Really, we kind of like just smoothed a lot of things out and said, yeah, you know what? If there's something that's in your favor, it's eased by 1 step. If it's not in your favor, it's hindered by 1 step. And so you don't have to remember like 35 different rules. Like, what's the blindness rule? What's the cover rule? But it's just kind of like, yeah, it's either 1 or 2 steps. And that's fine. It just makes running the game a lot easier for the GM. They can focus less on the math and more on what's happening with the characters and the NPCs.
I'm going to ask, since this wasn't on our notes, but since you're answering it, now that you guys are working on Cypher, right? Would you ever want to revisit any of the white books for selfish reasons? Because I want another Stay Alive and Claim This Time. Well, now that you're doing this new work, would you ever want to go back and, hey, let me add something to specifically Stay Alive? But
yeah, like, I'm sure. I mean, it's been 6, 7, however many years since I wrote Stay Alive, and so 6, 7, 8, not even intentional, 6, 7 years. Like, I would love to. I like to look at the stuff that I wrote before and think, oh, that could have been done better. This was kind of cringy. This was done really well. Like, I like to go and say, oh, who wrote this section? Oh, it was me. I'm pretty cool. But there's always room for improvement, and there's certainly concepts that I would like to go back to again. And who knows if we ever do another white book, we have not even really had like a firm internal design guideline of the white book has to have A, B, and C. That's why some of them don't have any PC options, player character options. And then some of them, like the mini campaign setting is minimal. And in some of them, it's very extensive. It's just because for each of those, we're like, designer, do what you think is best for this book. And so if I do another Stay Alive or something like that in the future, I might not include a little vampire campaign setting because, yeah, that was just an experiment that I wanted to do at the time. That means another 32 pages that I could do for something else, whether that's werewolves or a whole bunch more ciphers or a whole bunch more character options.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't use the setting, but I used the stat blocks for your vampires for my high noon and midnight 3-shot just like 2 weeks ago. Because
Nice.
I had vampires as my big bad, and I used the stat blocks for. I use Stay Alive for everything. I like use it as I cook breakfast with Stay Alive. That's like my favorite book of all time, but everybody knows that. So, but yeah, no one's gonna twist my arm for Stay Alive or Claim the Sky. I'll take those. You can release those every year, and I'll be a happy camper.
Every year is crazy request.
Stay alive again.
Still staying alive. Staying Night Fever. Staying Alive 2, Electric Disco.
Bro,
I was thinking the same thing too. Staying alive too, Electric Boogaloo.
Kids don't get that reference, but that's okay.
Yeah. You have been active answering so many questions on the CU Discord about the new cipher and the Amber Archive. What do you feel is the biggest misconception about the changes that you guys are currently making? Are there any you would like to address our audience now with?
I mean, none of them really jump out at me. Like sometimes I do have to step away and be like, it's in the book. Like, how did you do, And then to be fair, like sometimes people are like, I read the thing and I can't find this. And I realize, oh, this is actually a very obscure point over here. And part of the problem with the early access document is that it is a rough document. I mean, it's been edited, but it's not laid out. And so it's hard to cross-index where things are. There's no bookmarks. And one of the last things we do in layout is we look at the margins and think, this margin is pretty empty. Is there another call out we could put here that would give people some relevant information? And so one of the things that's going to happen as we get towards the end of the layout round, which Javier has just started, is we're going to look at things like, oh, we could really use another call out to or a reminder about this particular rule. And like one of the things that I did right before it went to layout was I added a whole bunch of call outs that say, and call out is our term for when you have like a little colored bit of text and it points to a message in the margin. But there's so many abilities that give you extra attacks or let you attack multiple creatures as part of your turn, something like spin attack, where you can attack up to 5 creatures. I added a call out for all of those saying, hey, any ability that gives you extra attacks, you treat all of the attacks beyond the first one as an extra action on your turn. So that you know, oh yeah, that means my effort and edge stats reset for that extra action. So that sort of informative thing is going to go in the book and answer like some of those lingering questions. Like I have looked at all the questions on the Discord and made a lot of internal comments for the documents and for layout. Like we've gotten a lot of really good feedback, gotten some kind of like obtuse feedback, but that's okay because we've been living in the document and people who are looking at it from the outside aren't necessarily like as super informed. And sometimes when we live in that document, we assume something and didn't realize that it wasn't fully stated or stated very clearly. So that's why we really appreciate having all this extra time for people to look at this stuff and ask these questions. And they're good questions.
I have 2 misconceptions. Oh, they might not even be misconceptions. And one of them I'm guilty of. I might have started this misconception like a year ago, but I apologize. Not in advance because it was a year ago. But the one that armor and shields are not as effective in the new version of Cypher ... Why we should address that one?
Yeah, that's like super wrong. Like, so the whole idea of switching to wounds, and they were like, okay, so we should have like block and dodge because those are two different aspects, and we need to make armor a useful thing. And so like we did a long-term playtest where I was playing a character who was the block guy, who's got the heavy armor and the shield and all the might, and we went through a couple of different iterations. And there was an iteration where like block was just kind of invincible. Monty was just like, oh, I literally can't hurt you. Block is too good. And so we changed it now to what it is now, where like if you block, you are taking a hit. It is just a reduced hit, you know. But the net effect of that, like we advanced those characters up to tier 6, and my guy had like 30 might and 14 speed, and it's like 6 edge and might. And so it's like every time I was getting attacked, I was like, heavy armor, that's 3 eases, and then 2 more from effort. So I'm easing my block by 5 steps. And that almost always meant I was taking, you know, a minor wound. And those minor wounds do add up. And it got to the point where like, okay, we've gone through 2 whole fights. I need to pause and rest or rally to get rid of a bunch of these minor wounds, because suddenly I'm going to start taking moderate or major wounds. But it's working as intended. Block is really, really strong. Like the intent is that you can take 5 hits from blocking and be fine, or 6 or 7 hits from blocking and be fine. So yeah, block is strong. There are times where you definitely want to dodge instead of block. And both of my tallest groups have encountered that, where it's like, oh, I am out of moderate wounds, so no matter what, if it hits me, I'm going to take a major wound. I should block it. I should dodge instead of block. Yeah. We've play tested a lot of this stuff and found all the ways that it's pretty explodey and reined that in.
I might have started that misconception because I was championing that argument like a year ago. So I'll take full blame for that one. The second misconception I want to bring up is, once again, I'm not sure if it's a misconception, but you could, you know, actually explain it to our audience, was now that you're moving into separating damage from the pools, that Cypher is no longer a resource management.
Wow, no, that's not true at all. I mean, you're still managing your points, right? It just means you're not having to spend those points as taking damage. Like our very first playtest, we had our friend Ethan join us, and he had never played Cypher before. And it was fun to watch him play because he was just like, oh, and he would just spend his pools down to 0 because there's no reason not to, right? He's not worried that if he spends his might pool down to 0, that suddenly he's super vulnerable to taking a hit. And my players have been in many situations where it's like, oh, I am down to 2 intellect, or I'm down to 2 speed, or 1 might, or whatever. Like, you're still spending all your points. It just means that you aren't afraid to use the points that you have, because you don't have to hold any back just in case you get hit. There's still lots of resources there. And the resource management of, like, should I try and turn this into a minor wound, or can I take that moderate wound, and balancing what your wounds are doing. That's like, it's just like the damage track. There's just more granularity to it. Instead of having 3 steps on the damage track, you have major with its 3 steps, and then moderate with its 4, and then minor with its 5. There's a lot of more wiggle room in there, especially as we've given you. There are some characters that have abilities like, if you are hindered from a moderate wound or a major wound, you get a free level of effort on everything you do. So you're like, I am the berserker, you know, I am wounded, I'm pissed off, you know, or like, I'm the rogue, I'm hurt, I'm gonna like go all out to stop this thing from killing me. Like, it gives us more triggers to do things in the game with that.
There you go, guys. Knowing is half the battle.
But all those questions were actually a great segue into our next question here. Because we were talking about playtesting and stuff. What have you learned about the new Cypher rules from your internal playtest that has surprised you, or that you had to go back and change?
So the first iteration of Cyphers was close to what it is now. But then kind of halfway through, Monty really decided that he wanted Cyphers to be exceptionally special. And so they have this unique thing that they're, what we used to call subtle ciphers are just now ciphers. They're just the default. So there's ciphers, and then there's manifest ciphers. But like non-physical ciphers, non-manifest ciphers, all of them are instant. They don't take an action. So you could just be like, oh, I'm going to attack this guy. Oh, and I've got a disarm cipher, or I've got an eases by two-step cipher, or I've got the perfection cipher that I get a natural 20. Like that you no longer have to say, okay, I'm going to use my turn setting up this cool thing. Like you can do the thing as your turn. And so many of these ciphers now are things that you can use after you roll, because nothing sucks more than saying, oh, I rolled and I only got a 6. And like, oh, I had this cool cipher that would ease this by 3 steps. I should have used that. It's like, now it tells you you can use this before or after the roll, because we want ciphers to be used. We want them to be people to be excited about their ciphers. And especially as ciphers kind of change from game to game, like from session to session, it's easy to forget exactly what ciphers that you have. And so that you necessarily train yourself to think, I've got this special ability, because it's different every time. So being able to go, oh, and retroactively apply that to the roll you just made means that the ciphers get used more. And you get excited to have them.
I mean, I love that change, because sometimes you feel like the jerk as the GM when action happened, you get a resolution, and then someone brings up, oh, hey, I didn't realize I had this cipher. Can I go back and use it? And then you could, most of the time you say yeah, but then there's sometimes just the story's just moved on forward to the point where you're like, well, no, you need to announce it. Well, now with this option, they can always go back and do it after the fact, which is.
And sure, certainly the players would be annoyed if the GM said, oh, that guy actually should have done a major wound instead of a moderate wound. Like, let me go back in time. Like, no, GM, you can't do that, but I can do that.
All right, so Shauna was really excited to talk about the ideas for the new Numenera solo play. What is your experience with solo play, and what are the challenges from the designing perspective you expect to see with this project in particular, a solo play project?
I mean, so Shauna has done a lot of research on that, and I have done very little. Like, I've kind of like picked up a couple little solo games that are mostly journaling games. And back when I was a teenager, like, I played through a lot of like choose your own adventure sort of games, including some from Steve Jackson games called like Sorcery, and like they had 2 different dice printed on the top of every page. You could just flip to a random page to get a dice result, but even then I was just like, I'm just gonna say I won this encounter, because I don't want to like lose this encounter and have to redo that. So I really respect Shauna doing all this research, and she's working on all that, and she's coming up with ways to deal with those hurdles, and we're going to start playtesting it really soon. And so it's a person who's generally inexperienced in modern soloing games. I'm looking forward to what she's doing with that. It's an interesting question of like, what's the difference between a solo game and a GM-less game? Like, could you use these solo rules where like the 3 of us are playing and there's no GM, and we're just using the solo rules to determine the outcome of our 3 different PCs versus the NPCs? And I don't know if Sean is going to explore that in this book product. It's getting more than just a book, or if that's something that we'll leave on the table for a future expansion or a future product. I don't know, but it's an interesting question.
I'm super excited for it, because I saw the look in Shauna's eyes when she was talking about it. Like, you could really tell that she's passionate about this. And when the designer's really passionate, I know I'm going to get a good product.
Yeah.
And I will say this before I move on to the next question. If y'all need playtesters for the solo stuff, I am your man. I will definitely give that a go.
I know you are the guy.
But next question here. Do you know who all will be writing which adventures for the Catechisms of Lore book?
So, like I answered in the earlier question like this, we don't know for sure, but given how we have a lot of books that are kind of jostling for position in the schedule, it is uncommon for us to have one author working on an entire book. So what will probably happen is we'll kind of hit the phase where that book needs to be started, and 1 or perhaps 2 people start working on that, and then someone else will come and write bits of it. So it'll probably be, at least Monte, or at least Shauna, Bruce, and myself. Monte spends a lot of time working on really experimental things and like whatever the next cool thing is. So I'm not sure if he's going to be jumping in and doing Numenera, but he is the creative director, and he can say, you know what, I get to write an adventure if he wants to.
No one's gonna complain if Monty wants to write an adventure.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
My name is on the company, you know.
Now every time I see Monty, I'm thinking that voice.
Yes, because this is how Monty talks, you see. He's a little bit British. That invisible pipe. Bully, bully. Monte Cook Games, indeed.
Oh, man.
That's hilarious.
Bruh.
Oh, let me stop laughing. All right. Is there anything you haven't had a chance to highlight about the AMPA archive project that we haven't talked about? Or you haven't had a chance to mention in any of the interviews or streams you've been doing recently?
So I think the last one Shauna talked about Calibo's Eyes, which is a fun, pretty wild one. And if people don't know, the inspiration was like a lottery ticket that like you draw the title and you don't even know what's on it. You scratch it off and you get a reveal. I probably won't have that exact sort of format, but just the idea is that it's something wild that even the GM can't predict. And whether that's NPC shows up or a creature has an interaction or a cipher does something or some other bit of Numenera, I think that's really, really fun. I love using our decks for things. I use them in all sorts of weird, non-standard ways. And the idea that a deck is also just going to surprise me, because like a lot of times I'll draw a card from a deck and go, that's not quite what I want to have happen in this encounter. But with this thing, if you're like taking that effort and like you're opening up this special envelope or whatever it is, you're like, okay, I'm committed now. I open this up. What the hell is going to happen? Okay, this is it. I will make this work.
I like that concept quite a bit, actually. That's a very fun idea. Yeah.
We have a few audience questions, if you don't mind, Sean. We probably got
Bring
like
it.
5 or 6.
Bring them all.
Crazy Weasel asks, what's something new about the law of the ninth row you're excited about and can tell us about?
I mean, just the idea of the Amber Archive itself is really, really cool. Like, it's this thing that the Order of Truth, the Eon Priests, had been fiddling with for a while, and now suddenly it's opened up. And so it's like we kind of get to do a deep dive into what Numenera stuff they've been working on or interacting with, and places that they have had access to, maybe lost access to for a while. Like, who knows, maybe there are weird factions of Eon Priests in remote corners of the world that have been out of communication with the main group for 100 years.
That sounds exciting to me.
The next question here is amazing. I really like this question, and but yeah, let's see what the answer is here. But the question was asked by Subterranean Delve, and they asked, is there any plan to fill out more of the map and reveal additional locations?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things we want to do is create new places to explore so that people who have all the existing Numenera material will say, I have new stuff. There's a reason for me to have this new book. To what extent that is, we haven't decided. We haven't started writing the book yet. It could be something as big as the Lands of the Dawn that were revealed in a previous product that was just kind of like, oh, and there's a gateway that opens up, and now you're just on the other side of the continent. Perhaps something related to the Clucka of Kala. Something opens up and gives you access to something. Like it's a gigantic continent. Like, we have so much space there that we could explore. It'd be very silly for us to say, we will never reveal the fog of war in these millions of square miles of space. We're just going to keep, everything is going to be in the city of Key, in this one particular neighborhood, in this one particular house, in the kitchen of that house.
With Monty sitting there smoking a pipe.
Hello, I'm Monte Cook. Welcome to Numenera.
Kezrex asks, I only have one Numenera question. Octopus as core PC species? ?
Yeah, I saw that in the chat, and I think that's a great idea. The end.
Whoa.
Like, great idea.
That's a positive. But our last audience question here that we got during the stream here is from user Stoims or Style. Hope I'm mispronouncing whatever. Stoims. Can you tell us how close we are to receiving a clean PDF rulebook? I'm assuming they're talking about the new Cypher stuff.
Sure. So it is just entered layout right now, and I don't. So let me talk about a normal product, not something that we've given early access to. Normal product gets designed, gets developed, it gets edited, it goes to layout, and then layout gets done, it goes to proofing, then that is sent off to the printer, and then that proofed PDF is hyperlinked and bookmarked. And then when the books are ready to come back from the printer and we're about to fulfill the print books, that's when we send out the PDFs to backers and pre-orders. And that, so they basically come out like the same week or the week before that the print book is going to come out. So for early access, we sent out that document when it was done in the editing phase, and now we're in layout. I don't know if we intend to send out another iteration of that before the actual backer PDF goes out. I think it would be a little weird to send out that early just because it won't be hyperlinked and bookmarked. Like it'll be pretty and you'll be like, yeah, this is lovely, but it's still going to not be as optimal as the final one. Like, and I think it'll be close enough to the final that some people might look at it and go, why isn't this hyperlinked and bookmarked? Why are you guys messing up your PDFs? It's just, I think, easier in terms of a customer service aspect to say, we're going to wait those extra 3 weeks for the really final version. So I think that'll come out when the book is ready to come out, and I believe that is something we hope to have happen, barring some international incident or a new tariff fluctuation, like for Gen Con of this year.
You didn't have to say all that. That was so jinxy. Oh boy.
At the way things are going now, who knows?
You did not have to say all those words in that string.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, we had a question in the yesterday's chat. We're like, oh, how come we've had some delays? And we're like, have you seen what's going on? Well, that's why.
Bruh. Oh my God.
Hey, Atlas just asked a great question in the chat. Did all the feedback from the CU members help? Is the giant thread of topics useful to the MCG staff and designers?
Yes, there's a lot of stuff that prompted a discussion among the designers and led to some revisions of things. There were some typos that were caught, some things that were pointed out as typos that we had actually already caught after that document was sent out to you guys. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was useful feedback. The thing is that we have made revisions to the rules and to some specific things. But unfortunately, Adlisk, every single question you asked wasn't good. Sorry, man.
every question but yours.
Yeah, hey, I'm kidding.
This question was DM'd to me in just a DM a few minutes ago. I just noticed it. But someone asked, are we looking at, they didn't want to be named. They asked, are we looking at foreign language conversion books, if any, particularly German?
So MCG doesn't do translations. Like we don't have anybody on staff who is fluent enough in other language that we would feel comfortable making that sort of thing. And we don't have anybody who's super like knowledgeable about, for example, publishing books in France and distributing them to game stores in France or Spain or Brazil or whatever. So there are companies that do that sort of thing, whether they are full-time RPG companies or people who are just publishing companies that kind of like do that as a branch of what they're doing. And they come to us. So we've got Korean translations, Italian translations, some French translations of some of our stuff, but they all come to us and say, we would like to do translations of your books, and we work out a licensing agreement. We're not really in a position to like reach, like we don't know who is good at that sort of thing. So if you know of a company in your region that is good at what we call localization, please tell them. I would love to see Numenera in French, for example, and say, here's how to contact MCG, and they'll come to us and we can get it done. Like, I love the fact that we have got all these non-English versions of them. I had an Italian version of Numenera that I gave to my brother-in-law, who is from Italy, and he has some really interesting insights, for example, about the Italian translation of Numenera, because I'm going to go off a little side tangent here. Italian doesn't really have a word that means weird in the way that English has a word meaning weird. Like, there's strange, but it doesn't have quite the same context. So like every time that there's the word weird, they had to come up with like an Italian euphemism to kind of like mean that same sort of thing. And so seeing that sort of stuff in a localization, again, requires that level of knowledge of the local language. But I love that sort of quirk of it. So shortest version is we would love to have more translations, but like we need people in those regions to say, hey, company that we know makes really good translations, please reach out to SG.
I always find like topics like this fascinating because you get to delve into the logistics behind making products. It's not just designing, it's also, you know, stuff like this, figuring out someone to translate it into these languages and what's the cost? Is it cost effective to do so? What's going to be the profit if you do so?
Yeah.
Now, chat has been cracking me up because they've been doing a lot of funny translation jokes. Seraphis, well, he said, I want to see it translated, Numenera translated into Australian. And it made me think that, hey, I could do a New York translate. It's the freaking world. Forget
about it.
That's hilarious.
I'm crafting over here.
and Jason wrote, where was Jason's? Because it was pretty funny too. Devin is hoping for a translated octopus.
Oh my god. Bruh. Oh, I'm dying.
You guys are hilarious.
But to bring us back in a little bit, if you guys are actually serious about localization type things, I might be able to have an in or maybe someone who can help with Japanese. That language specifically. I have a friend who works in manga publishing, and I don't know. I think they do other kind of like books, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, Japanese definitely might be on the table if you're interested.
Cool. Yeah, get on that. I've delegated that to you now. My knowledge of Japanese is very, very limited. I can say, let's see, tako desu, and watashi wa nihongo ga amari de wa arimasen, which means I don't speak Japanese very well. I took a business Japanese class back in the day, so I learned that one.
Sean, I know you've played a ton of RPGs. A side topic: have you played any Japanese RPGs before? Like any of the translated Japanese RPGs?
No, I have not.
I know that's like it's like a big movement in the U.S. now of translated Japanese RPGs. I personally haven't either. I was just wondering if
wait. So I've done something in the RPG realm that y'all haven't?
Yes.
Because I've played I believe it's a Japanese game, Ryutama, the cozy JRPG inspired game. I'm pretty sure that's a Japanese one. What? How is that possible?
Well, I want to point out in the past year, I've helped write a new edition of Cypher, and I've rebuilt my 100-year-old house, and I got married, so I was a little distracted and busy.
That's no excuse.
You tell my wife that. How about that? Say it to her face.
No, thank you. I'll pass on that one.
Oh, man.
Sean, thank you so much. This has been great. I think
Are we done? I mean, we started 5 minutes after 35. We should go another 7 minutes if you guys can stay up.
I could definitely stay up.
Yeah.
You got any questions for our chat? You have any questions for the CU themselves?
I mean, I think I just demand answers and you guys give them to me whenever. So I guess it's just,
okay.
If the community wants to ask more wacky questions of me, here I am. Or I can just make fun of Adalisk some more.
Yeah. you guys heard that. He wants some more questions. Don't let him down.
We did have one question, but might be kind of a long one depending on how you want to answer it. Roosevelt Cooper asked, tell us about your design process and what that looks like.
Assuming they mean my personal design process.
Yes.
I'll start when I'm officially starting on a book. Usually we've had some sort of meeting just to cover what the general idea of it is. And often that is just kind of done for the crowdfunding. And then someone gets put on that book as a task. And I just got to sit down and say, all right, what's going to happen here? And if it's an adventure, like I don't usually do an extensive outline. I might like have a few notes of, I know what this is going to be in the beginning. I have a cool idea for an encounter in the middle, and then the resolution is going to be this. And then I just sit down and write it front to back. And I'm a very, not so much a heavily revisionist sort of writer, but I do put a lot of care into every single word that comes out of my hands and onto the page, so that I don't feel like I have to go back and reread it and adjust a lot of things when I'm done. That kind of happens in between the thought and me typing. I know that Shauna is a very different sort of designer, and that she will come up with a draft and then revise it and test it and revise it and test it, revise it and test it. And Bruce is just a machine. Like he just thinks so fast and types so fast, and it just kind of like comes all out and it's just there. But like I guess it's my developer brain makes me want to be super meticulous and make sure that what I'm writing is as absolutely clear as it can be, so that the next person who comes along doesn't have any questions about it. But I mean, I draw on a lot of things. Like my wife and I have been watching all the Best Picture nominated movies, and in the lead up to the Oscars this week, and I'm like, that's a really cool idea for a character. That's a really cool idea for an encounter. Like I should use that, whether I use it in my home game or put it in an adventure. So sometimes I just get out my phone and I put a couple of notes of do this thing, this is that. So it's definitely like I have kind of a sponge brain for picking up all these details and coming out in a game version of them. It's funny, I've kind of quit the game industry a couple of times, just in a minor sort of way. I'm like, oh, I've worked on this a lot, I'm going to go do something else. But I couldn't help but come back to it. And it just, my brain, I've been gaming since I was 9 years old. And I just think in terms of, that'd be a really cool game sort of thing. And even when I started at MCG, I was originally the MCG online community person, which is kind of like what Liv is doing now. And obviously I had been a game designer for 15 years at that point, but I said, guys, I want to keep like my design time to myself. I want to work on some little projects. I want to do things like for Patreon. And Monty's like, that's totally fine. And then 2 weeks in, we had a situation where Monty was supposed to write a couple of little adventures for retail stores. And I'm like, all right, I'll write that. and then another thing, and then another thing. And then we kind of like reshuffled some people at MCG because our managing editor left, and I kind of like took over project manager for a bit. And then that was not a good fit for me because I don't have that sort of skills. And then Monty's like, we would really like you just to be full-time designer developer. I'm like, all right, I guess that's what I'm doing now. I'm just keep pulling me back in. So yeah, it's just, I've been doing this for 25 years and I just kind of have developed this practice and it works for me.
Seraphis asks, what's on the other side of the ninth world from the supercontinent?
It's a super duper continent.
Excuse me, jeez.
No, I mean, we know that most of the surface mass, or I think we've said that most of the surface mass is in that supercontinent. And so there are little island chains and archipelagos over there. In terms of real world geophysics and stuff and storm stuff, there's probably huge storms there because there's no water or there's no land to stop them. So it's just kind of like horribly turmoilous. But given the Numenera, who knows? There could be a gigantic storm and there's some sort of Numenera device that's pushing all the storms away or making like a big eye of the tornado, eye of the hurricane, and there's some sort of little crazy paradise in the middle. Maybe that's where the eighth world civilization is still just chilling out. They're going,
or the start of the 10th.
You want to read Jeremy Josh's question?
I like this one too. Yeah. So they, it's not really a question; it's more of a statement, but it's a question. Jeremy Joe, sorry if I butchered the last part of that, asked, I have to know who came up with the term SHITS in Neon Rain and how that came about.
So that was me. And so how that came about is we were kind of concerned that the term cyberpsychosis was ableist. And it's like a long-standing term in the cyberpunk genre, but like we have different sensibilities now than we did in the 1980s, and we didn't want to necessarily present a situation where like one psychosis, like let's not use that so casually, and like let's not use the term psychosis to mean you're going to go insane and like start killing people. And we also didn't want to say that, yeah, you know what, if you have a disability and you need to have your legs replaced with cybernetics, that means you're likely to experience cyberpsychosis. Like that is like horrible a concept for telling disabled people that they are more likely to experience this triggered violence sort of thing. And we're like, well, how are we going to address that? And we had a sensitivity reader on Neon Rain who was like, yeah, we really should do something about this. So given that the cyberpunk genre is kind of tongue-in-cheek in how like it refers to things and how the world just kind of sucks, and how the corporations are going to come up with their like pretty official term for something, but like it's going to have a different casual name among the people who are actually dealing with it on the street. Like the idea of, yes, there's like a very minor mention of medical professionals have a term for this, but the slang term is this acronym, and it's just known as shits. And that's what you would probably call it. And they're like, oh, this person's got the shits. And like, is it? No, it's like the cybernetic shits. Oh, okay. And it's not just, we don't just point the finger at cybernetics. It's systemic poverty and malnutrition and pollution and all these sort of things that like factor into, yes, this has an overwhelming like negative effect on everybody, and some people are more sensitive to it than others, and thus shits.
Who knew that Neon Rain already had a New York translation?
I want to read this comment because it's freaking hilarious. Sarah said in the chat, ableist ... So we went with something everyone can relate to. Shits.
That's right. And yeah, that's a good point, because like I taught some classes at my bonus son's high school, and I taught a class called adulting, right? And one of the things is just like knowing how to do taxes and how to fill out a job application, that sort of thing. But it was also stuff like, hey, you're a growing person and you're learning how to socialize with other people, and some of that is dating, and you should like date a lot of different people and like learn that, hey, I don't like how this person makes me feel, and I don't like being in this sort of relationship, so you can kind of better understand the person that you want to become. And one of the things like I suggested them is like, if you're nervous about asking somebody out, that's okay. But if it helps, you should just remember that every single person that you were interested in asking out has probably at some point in their life had really horrible diarrhea. So that really humanizes them. And you're like, oh yeah, you know what? They are just as human as I am. I don't need to be super nervous. They're just a person.
we're gonna end it on that note. The shit.
on the brown note.
That's a good one. That's a good way to end it. No, but before we end it, like I just want to say that's an amazing way to flip like the psychosis thing on its head and still make it like enjoyable and like Sarah said, like relate to everyone. But yeah, just that's amazing.
Hey guys, I just want to go back before we even go to our ending. There's 22 hours left in the Amber Archive right now on Backerkit. They're 99 backers away from us getting the next stretch goal, which is a 100-card creature deck. You know, it's at 650,000 right now. Come on, guys, we only got 22 hours left. Let's try to make this go as sky high as we possibly can. Just from an overall, not only from a fan perspective, but just from a fan of Monte Cook Games, the better these backer kits do, the more products, the more projects we get. And one thing that you could say what you want about MCG, the one thing that is absolutely undeniable is that you get your products on time, you get everything that is promised, and they're always beautiful, well-crafted books, you know, so you never have to worry about, if I back this at the all-in, am I not going to get my crowdfund prize? I've been backing them for damn near 12 years. I've never had an issue with any backing, so go check, at least check it out. You can back it for $1 now and up your ante when it's time to claim in, if you want to do that as well. But yeah, we need backers. We need people to go look at it. please, please, please go check it out.
Yep.
Al, you was gonna say something?
No, just if we're wrapping up, thanks everybody. Thanks Sean for coming on, talking with us. It's always a blast, and yeah, the audience had some great questions and commentary tonight. I will say that.
Al, if you might have one more thing I want to do for my son Aiden. He's been asking me this. I don't know if you can see this, but he's
Barely.
You probably can't. But he's been asking me this. He wanted me to ask this question to the community if somebody could do this. He wrote his question of the day because he has his own little like YouTube series where he does question of the day. So he's question for the CypherCon and CU members. When is someone gonna announce a Monster War series? So guys, somebody make a one-shot called Monster War for my son Aiden. And if you do, I'll play in it, or I'll get Aiden to play in it. But he's been asking me for 3 weeks now, and look, Aiden, I'm asking your question.
I'm sure someone can make that happen. Yeah, that too.
Sean, once again, thank you so much. You have
thank you guys.
Absolutely love you. There's no matter what they people say about you, don't believe it.
Thanks.
Yeah, Sean, you are the best. We love you so much, and you have an open invitation to come on to talk about anything you want whenever you like.
Thank you guys.
Where can you be found on social media? Is there anything else you want to say?
I'm Sean K. Reynolds on Blue Sky, technically on Instagram, but I never use it. And my Patreon is Sean K. Reynolds. If you want to get, every couple of weeks I post some new 5e and Cypher content with designer commentary.
Oh, nice. As you heard that, please follow him on all social media. And Jason, I'm gonna take that as you volunteering to build out a Monster War game. Too late. Don't take me back, Jason.
There you go. You got to come on and host it.
If you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monte Cook Games. We have the largest fan-run Discord for everything MCG, but if Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. Not as big as our Discord, but still great conversations being had there daily. If you find any kindness in your heart, give us a sub here on Twitch or go to our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe there. We're still trying to build both platforms up, as best we can. And any help you can give us in that direction will be greatly appreciated. Our videos are always free, but if you want to support us financially in any way, you could give us a little donation on Ko-fi or go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Yep, thank you guys so much for coming chatting with us. Thank you again, Sean, for coming on, answering these questions. I know the community really appreciates it, and so do we. And thank you again, audience, because this was a great chat. Y'all were amazing tonight. And as usual, from us at the CU, we will see you later.